Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Top back into the video today, and today the Houston Texans beat the New Orleans Saints 20-13 at home. CJ Stroud throws 2 touchdown passes, although he does throw his first interception of his career. Funny enough, on the interception that CJ Stroud did throw, it was, they were starting to return the football, and whoever got the interception, it was number 53, and we'll figure out later on in this video who that was. I can't remember. But they fumbled, and the Texans recovered the football back, literally kind of near the spot where the Texans were already at. It was like the 40-something yard line in their own territory. And later that drive, after the Texans originally threw an interception and got the ball back off of a fumble, this was the first quarter with 3 minutes remaining. CJ Stroud throws a 1-yard touchdown pass to Dalton Schultz. Texans get the win 20-13. They improved to 3-3. The Texans, it's not even halfway through the season yet, and they already have the amount of wins they had last year with 3. They're going into their bye week. It's week 7, or next week will be week 7, and they'll have a chance, by mid-season to have 4 wins, when last year in the whole year they only had 3. And the next week, or week 7, they have the bye. Week 8, they'll go up against one of the worst teams in the NFL, and the Panthers, who are 0-6 to start the season. All right, great win for the Texans. Stroud, I'm not going to say Stroud was terrible, but CJ Stroud kind of had his worst game of the of his NFL career. And, saying that Stroud has had his worst game of his career, it doesn't mean that Stroud was terrible, because Stroud, really every game of his career so far has been good. I mean, last week was a down performance from CJ, and he threw for over 200 passing yards, did not throw an interception, and threw a touchdown pass. He threw 2 touchdown passes today. The Texans, I think one of the big things is his yards went down because the Texans were running the football a lot. Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce both had very solid days. He threw for nearly 200 passing yards, 199 with 2 passing touchdowns and 1 interception, 13 for 27. Texans get the win 20-13. Let's go over the scoring summary. So, first quarter, you have 2 scores. CJ Stroud throwing a 1-yard touchdown pass to Dalton Schultz. It's 7-0. Then Derek Carr throws a 34-yard touchdown pass to Rashid Shaheed, and it's 7-7. Then second quarter, Kaimi Farenberry knocks in a 24-yard field goal. It's 10-7. Then CJ Stroud throws a 6-yard touchdown pass to Robert Woods with 2 minutes remaining in the second quarter. It's 17-7. Then Blake Group with a 48-yard field goal with 20 seconds remaining in the first half. It's 17-10 at halftime. No scores in the first quarter, but you had 2 scores in the third. Kaimi Farenberry, 22-yard field goal. Blake Group, 45-yard field goal. Texans take a 10-point lead, 20-10, when that Farenberry field goal is good. And also, the Saints cut the lead down to 7, making it 20-13 when Blake Group knocks in a kick from 45. Also, their kicker, Blake Group, did miss 2 field goals in this game, missing a kick from 29 and 52 yards. So, great win for the Texans as they win it 20-13. Offense didn't look perfect. They looked very okay. They looked solid. But the big strong suit in this game for the Texans was their defense. Holding the Saints down on third downs, had an interception on the last drive, did a very, compared to 2-minute drives last week. Now, only difference is Atlanta last week needed a field goal, Saints needed a touchdown, but I felt like this 2-minute defense compared to last week was a lot better than this week than they were last week against Atlanta. Let's get into some game leaders. Derek Carr, 32 for 50, 353 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception thrown. CJ Stroud, 13 for 27, 199 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. Alvin Kamara, 19 carries and 68 rushing yards. As a Texans fan and a fantasy owner of Alvin Kamara, solid day for Kamara. I'll take it. I didn't want him to have a dominant day, but I wanted him to have a solid day where I would be okay in fantasy, and the Texans would also be manageable to get the win. That happened. I think Kamara got me like 13 or 14 points, something like that. Devin Singletary was really solid for the Texans as well. He's been playing a little bit better than Dameon Pierce, in my opinion. 12 carries for 58 rushing yards. Receiving yards, Chris Olave. Not only did I have Kamara, but I was facing Chris Olave. He had 7 receptions for 96 receiving yards. Then Nico Collins with 4 receptions for 80 receiving yards. Nico Collins was very good in this game for the Texans without Tank Dell. But that caused more attention for the defensive side going against Nico. All right, other rushing. Dameon Pierce had 13 carries for 34 rushing yards. And Devin Singletary had his longest rushing attempt was 17 yards. That was the longest run for the Houston Texans all season. How about Xavier Hutchinson, who hasn't done anything since week 1? The rookie wide receiver had week 1 had 1 reception for 9 receiving yards against the Ravens, and now today he had 2 carries for 15 yards. Mike Boone also had 1 carry for 11 yards. Besides Nico Collins, who got targeted 6 times, Dalton Schultz was very good with 4 receptions for 61 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. And how about Noah Brown, who made a huge play on the first drive for the Houston Texans, or one of their first drives, as Noah Brown had 2 receptions for 37 receiving yards. One was a big 30-yard reception. I think it was a 33-yard play from C.J. Stroud to get them inside the 10-yard line. It was a 34-yard reception for Noah Brown. He was targeted 5 times. This was his first game off the IR. Brevin Jordan also had 1 reception for 11 yards. Robert Woods had 1 reception for 6 receiving yards and 1 touchdown, while Singletary had 4 receiving yards. Fumbles. The fumble where the Saints' Zach Bond, who got the interception, fumbled. It was recovered by Titus Howard, and that was the only fumble of the ball game, was the fumble on the interception. Tackles, Blake Cashman, what a day for him. 15 tackles, led the Texans in tackles with 2 tackles for loss. Texans had 2 sacks on the day with 5 tackles for loss. Saints had 2 sacks, 1 sack for Carl Granderson, 1 sack for Demario Davis, and they had 6 tackles for loss. For the Texans, 2 sacks, 1 sack for Sheldon Rankins, and a half a sack for Malik Collins and Jonathan Grenard. They had 5 total tackles for loss, 2 tackles for loss for Blake Cashman, 2 for Sheldon Rankins, and 1 for Kurt Heinisch. And going over the full team stats, or team, different player stats: Jimmy Ward 7 tackles, Jalen Petrie 6 tackles, Sheldon Rankins 6 tackles, Steven Nelson 6 tackles with an interception, Henry To'o with 6 tackles, Shaq Griffin 6 tackles, got hurt in the ball game, Will Anderson Jr. 4 tackles, MJ Stewart 3 tackles, Jerry Hughes 3 tackles, Jonathan Grenard 3 tackles, Christian Harris and Malik Collins with 3 tackles. Following players had 1 tackle. Novelli Hewitt, Khalil Davis, even wide receiver Nico Collins had a tackle, and so did Kurt Heinisch, which was a tackle for loss. And then the only interception was the game-winning interception for Steven Nelson for the Houston Texans, as the Texans win it. And there was only 1 kick return. It was by Devin Singletary for 18 yards. No punt returns, and Kaimi Fairbairn was 2 for 2 from field goal, 100%. Longest was 24, 2 for 2 from extra point, and he converted 8 points for the Houston Texans today. Cameron Johnson punted 5 times with 237 yards, 1 touchback, 3 inside the 20s, and his longest was 63 yards. So yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Your thoughts on the Texans win, as the Texans improved to 3-3, and now the Texans head to the bye week. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out. Go Texans.